All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack, turning our attention back now to Central Texas as the death toll has risen over 100 to 109 and 161 individuals still unaccounted for missing right now in the Kerr County area. And of course, this was images that we were getting in earlier as the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, took to the skies in a helicopter to get a vantage point of some of the damage and the devastation. And you heard from the governor as well as the Texas National Guard saying there is, quote, miles and miles of massive devastation in this region. Let's be joined right now on the ground as the search continues for all of those individuals by Fox Weather's Haley Meier. Haley, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Where are you and what does the search look like from your vantage point?
Well, currently, right now, Andy, I am out in Center Point, Texas, which is a bit further south of Kerrville, about 20 minutes if you're taking a car. And Kerrville is about 5-6 minutes away from Hunt, where Camp Mystic, obviously one of the hardest hit summer camps in the area, was. But seeing this amount of devastation behind me, it just goes to show no matter where you are along the Guadalupe River here in the Hill Country, you're going to have scenes just like this. And so it's not just one area, it is mass devastation here. I'm currently standing at Guadalupe Keys. It's an RV park where multiple RVs got caught up in the floodwaters all the way up to their ceiling. A lot of them, they're still trying to remove certain pieces here right behind me. We've had crews here all day, and honestly, it looks like a whole different scene from when I got here this morning to where I'm standing right now, going into the early half of the evening. People have been working nonstop, all volunteers, some coming from even out of state. They've been working so hard, and I really can't understate that enough. This has been the hardest part of the battle here, specifically in Center Point, just based upon the snaking of the river that we've got going on. It created this whirlpool and essentially dumped all of the debris that's been kind of hanging out in this region when the floodwaters were at their max in this one exact spot. So unfortunately, it's going to take a long way to recover. A big part of the Texas Hill Country are the cypress trees. They're called bald cypress, and they line every single inch of this bank almost to its entirety. So when the floodwaters rose to up to 30 feet in some spots, these 600-year-old trees got completely decimated, and now we've had folks coming in with chainsaws trying to remove them. But the biggest thing that folks want to do is come back and plant these trees. Above all else, they say that is what we need the most. It's vital to their ecosystem. Now, this is what it looks like in this moment, but upon reaching to the RV park, we spoke with the owner, David Chambers, and he shared a video with us where it was the flooding that was overtaking this RV park. Now, he doesn't live exactly in this particular area. He lives about 20 minutes away by car. He got a phone call at around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. His friend said, "You need to get to your RV park right now and help these folks." And he got there just in the nick of time. He said, "You could see some of my RVs floating down the river." He is still missing a few pieces of some equipment he had in the area, and he suspects that they floated a good few miles down the way. But he said he got here just in the nick of time. There's a small little hill when you come up here, and that was the small pause that the water needed in order to have him evacuate everybody. So specifically here at this RV park, no fatalities, but obviously we know that that's not the case in other areas, even in this county. I mean, Kerr County was hit the hardest. Governor Greg Abbott saying that there is up to 161 people still missing. That number drastically climbing from when we last sort of knew and we're taking stock of this situation. He was out today doing aerial views of this area. President Trump will be here at the end of the week. So it really is an entire effort, not only for Texans, but for the United States. So many veterans here as well, chipping in. They say this is God's country to them, and they won't stop until it is fully restored. And I can truly understand why. It's a gorgeous spot. I grew up in this area. Wow. I would come to the Guadalupe River to float with my friends. Memories that will last a lifetime. And there's a lot more memories to be made here, that's for sure. Andy?
Yeah, they talked about the resiliency being Texas strong. Governor Greg Abbott reiterated that a time or two. We're showing the video one more time of this RV park there in that Center Point location. I just want to ask you for the perspective, because we talk about how high the water rose, 26 feet, 30 feet in less than an hour in the dead of night. Where you're standing at right now, would that have been underwater when the river rose?
Definitely. I mean, I probably would have been close to about 20 feet underwater at this point, and that's what's just truly remarkable. I mean, we see some of these RVs, certain pieces of them are still up into the trees, and based upon, how that river has been twisting, it created almost this tornado type of damage as it twisted around trees. And yeah, we would have been completely underwater in this moment. I think at that time that the time frame was a little bit later than, let's say, folks in Camp Mystic, where it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Here, that peak flooding came in at around 6:30. So it could have been just that hour-long time span that created just what they needed to evacuate as many people as they possibly could. But he said it was horrific to see, and his favorite part about having this is sharing it with other families. It was an Airbnb type rental property here, so people would come for 4 or 5 years in a row to partake in what he had to offer, and to come across that in the early morning hours of July 4th, one of his favorite holidays, is something that really struck a chord with him, but he's ready to rebuild and welcome people back into the area.
Yeah, people of Texas know how to celebrate the 4th of July, a very patriotic group. I do want to ask you, Haley, because you mentioned you're from that area, and you also mentioned Camp Mystic, and we're learning more information as several campers, counselors still missing, unaccounted for at this point. Can you talk a little bit about the camps? Did you ever attend one of those camps? And maybe what do those camps symbolize? How did people flock to the region to go to those camps over the fun summer months for kids in their youth?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily go to these camps here, but I had so many friends that did. There's one called Lady Lodge Youth Camp that so many of my friends went to. A lot of them in this area, there's waiting lists for years to get on it. And so it's seen as a sense of pride. It's multi-generations that go to these same camps. Camp Mystic being one of the oldest in this entire region. I believe it was founded back in either the 1920s or the 1930s. And so you can imagine how many memories are shared with these people and these communities, these little girls that unfortunately a few are still missing. And it is a sense of pride. I mean, maybe a little bit of argument between I went to this camp, I went to this camp, but at the end of the day, it's that shared experience of hanging out on the Guadalupe River. But unfortunately, it's the topography here in the hill country that made it the most prone to flash flooding. You have so many hills in the area. I mean, hill country, that makes sense, but it's the soil type and also the type of rock along those hills that allows that water to drain so fast. I mean, when I say fast, we've said the statistic, about 26 feet in 45 minutes, almost a blink of an eye when you think about it. And we call that term high drainage density. It's a spot we see quite often in the Carolinas, western North Carolina, and then also portions of West Virginia, Maryland, where we've been consistently talking about flooding. If you look at it on a topographic map, it looks the same. So many streams, and they all feed right into the Guadalupe River. It happens so fast, truly. One thing that maybe was working in the floodwaters' favor is we were in a bit of a drought, so the creek was as low as it possibly could be in perspective. But also, when you talk about dry soil, it's almost like a dry sponge. It takes a second for the water to get absorbed into it, and so that creates that quick, rapid runoff, which then feeds directly into the Guadalupe River. So unfortunately, it was just a perfect storm. Everything came together. The nighttime, the holidays with extra visitors, the terrain, the storm system. It wasn't moving. It was an MCV. Just all of this moisture getting pummeled from the Gulf of America, but also from portions of the Eastern Pacific. And it all just landed right here in the Texas Hill Country. But it is one of the top 5 most dangerous for flash flooding in the entire United States. So something that this community will have to deal with for as long as it decides to stay here. But they're determined to keep everything as close to the way as it was, as it can be.
Yeah, and as people continue to grieve and mourn the loss of those, is also a point of lessons as there are potentially new sirens going to be implemented in this region, because you mentioned just the proximity to all of those flood-prone areas. All right, Haley, thank you so much for your insight, your perspective. I appreciate you joining us here on Live Now.